everybody, this is Heather Sides. I had to go out and come back in because of technical difficulties. So I'm pulling this up on my computer now. I need to see your comments. People were having a hard time hearing me. So I want to see if I have sound yet. So bear with me here. Okay. Okay, good. Looks like I am back on. Marcia says she can hear me. Perfect. Well, I am sorry about that, you guys. Seems like I always have some sort of technical difficulties, right? Okay, so before we get back to where we were, one thing I want to make sure that I cover, hang on, let me grab it. I want to make sure to repeat is the thing about conversation. So if you are watching this for the first time, I want to tell you about how conversation works with my videos. I like to have everybody participate because it helps to build the community. So everybody who makes any kind of comment, whether you're watching live or on a replay, your name goes into a drawing. And then right before next week's video, I will draw a name and that person will get a prize that I will award in that video next week. So even if you're just watching this on a replay and there's not really conversation going on to participate in, make sure that you leave some sort of comment. At the very least, say hello, tell me where you're from. That counts too. And I'd love to hear where everybody's from. And your name will go in the drawing. So make sure that you participate in conversation. So last week's winner was Beth Casaro, and she won this cute little set. It's got some designer series paper. I can't remember the name of this of the paper. It's got some coordinating cardstock, some ribbon, and some pearls. So congratulations, Beth. I have your address, so I will just pop this right in the mail to you. But definitely make sure you're participating in the conversation. Okay, so everybody's saying they can see and hear me. Yes, Marcy, she just ran past because she goes back and forth between the window to see the front and running out the back door to see what's going on in the back. Because, you know, we live in such an exciting neighborhood. There's just excitement everywhere. Okay, so I'm going to turn the camera around. This is frozen on my end. Am I frozen for anybody else? Oh, I am sorry about that, guys. Seems like I always have some sort of technical difficulties, right? Okay, so let's see. Okay, this is my computer is just being, well, not my computer, I think it's Facebook, is being sort of weird. Okay, I think I have it. I think we're good. Okay, John's here. I just saw you for the first time tonight. Hi, John. And hello, Marcy. Okay, so I'm gonna try to turn my camera around. That was the problem last time. Remember, it didn't like it, and then all of a sudden it went silent. Got to get everything sort of straight here because, you know, I just go bonkers. I'm going to leave that there because no sense in wasting the paper. Anyway, okay, so what I was telling you guys is we're going to use the playing in the rain. Okay, I need to turn off my sound. Okay. You heard feedback, Marcy, because, yeah, I had the sound on my computer. And you know what? No one needs to hear more than one of me. People debate whether or not they even need to hear that many. Okay, so we're using Playing in the Rain. And this was actually in our January through April mini catalog. It was such a huge hit. They held on to it and put it in this year's annual catalog. It's so cute. In addition to dies for all of the stamps you see here, there are more dies. Like there's a bridge and there's butterflies and there's a tree stump and little bows that you can put on your animals and grass. So there's a lot that you can do with this set. And they're just, Stampin' Up! Does the best job with little cutesy animals. Right, Marcy? Okay, I also use the painted texture embossing folder. And those of you who've been around a while know I use this a lot. And the reason is because it's such a basic pattern that it gives a little bit of texture, little dimension to my card without being a specific pattern that is distracting. But you know what I did with it tonight? I used it to make grass. So it's not just a flat grass there, it's kind of uneven ground. And this is the card we're going to make with our matching envelope. Look at our little bunny just enjoying the rain and splashing in a little puddle. So this is what we're going to use. And it uses a couple of our new colors. This is Berry Burst, and then we're also using the Azure Afternoon. Okay, so let's get started. Kind of behind the 8 ball tonight, aren't we? Okay, so we'll start with doing our envelope. Now the strip I put on my envelope is 2.5 inches wide. It's 2.5 by 6 inches. It's just a little bit bigger than what you need, which is what I recommend, because then you don't have to question whether or not you're getting it on there exactly right. It doesn't waste a ton of the paper. You trim the extra off, but it just makes it a little bit easier. So then I put a little bit of glue on. I like to use our liquid glue because then I can still slide the paper around a little bit to get it exactly where I want it. It takes a moment before it gets tacky. So now I just rub it on there, make sure that everything is glued down well. And then I'm going to take my paper snips and I'm going to trim off the extra here. Okay. And now our envelope is done. Right, ta-da! And we're ready to move forward. So this is just a basic card base or standard card base. It's a half of a sheet of cardstock. It's 8.5 inches by 5.5 inches, and I've scored it at 4.25, right there in the middle. And use my bone folder to just get a nice crisp edge there. And we're going to start by just laying these two pieces out on the front of our card. We don't need to stamp on them or cut them or anything, so we might as well go ahead and adhere them. And the Designer Series paper that I'm using tonight is in the Cheerful Daisies suite of products. Give me just a minute and I'll have a name for you of that paper. I just can't remember off the top of my head what it was called. Thanks, Joyce. Joyce says she likes that idea for the embossing folder. Okay, I've done it for leaves too. It looks really cool on leaves. Okay, gosh, I keep putting that on there crooked. Let's try this one more time. Well, Lucy's on the go. There must be something exciting going on outside. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and put this on our card. This card is probably our most time-consuming one tonight just because of all the coloring. But I did color some of the things ahead of time just to save a little time so you don't have to just sit there watching me color. But let's go ahead and do some of our stamping. See, I've got the little flowers that I already stamped and colored. Now this is going to be the inside of our card, and we're going to put our sentiment on the inside. I don't know if I showed you guys the inside. Maybe. But we're just going to do the flowers and the sentiment. And sometimes I like to put the sentiment on the bottom of the card. I just think it's a little different. So I've got the flowers. And I've got this, the sentiment says, rainy days are better with you. And I'm just going to stamp my little flowers in the corner. And then I'm going to stamp my sentiment right next to it. Like that. And let's do our other stamping. We need to stamp ourselves a bunny and some clouds. So I've got the clouds right here. The cool thing is the die, it's one die, but it cuts out the clouds separately, which I really like. Okay, so I've got my bunny. I don't know if I'm gonna have enough room here for all the clouds, but that's okay. I've got more scraps if I need to. And this is just a scrap. This is a great way to use your scraps. Keep them, because then when you have little things like this, oh yeah, I've got room. When you have little things like this, it makes it really easy to, you know, just grab a scrap and stamp on that. Okay, so we've got that there. Before we cut these with our dies, we're gonna color them. And I have a lot of colors here, so. So for the flowers that are going to go on the inside, I just used our, I can't remember if I used light or dark. It probably doesn't. Fresh as a Daisy. Thank you, Joyce. The paper is our Fresh as a Daisy 12 by 12 DSP. Okay, so, and DSP stands for Designer Series Paper. So I'm going to go ahead and use the light Berry Burst Stamp and Blend. Actually, before I do that, though, where did my yellow go? Maybe I put my yellow away. Hold now. I don't know why I put it away. Okay, so I'm just using it to color the yellow to, it's the bright, gosh, goodness gracious. It's the dark Daffodil Delight, and I'm just using it to color the insides of the flowers. And I did the same, I colored the ones that I cut out with the dies, same way. Now I'm gonna take my Berry Burst, and I'm going to just color the flowers really quickly. So you can see these little tiny little petals take a minute because you've got to be careful, so you can see why I did this ahead of time on the other ones. I don't know if you guys remember, about a year ago, I had to get a cortisone injection in my neck, and I have to get another one at the end of this month. It worked for quite a while. For a couple months I didn't have any pain at all, and then it did slowly start coming back, which typically is the case when you get cortisone injections. They don't last forever. But I'm back to where it's constantly going numb, and we don't like that. Goodness gracious, why am I missing so many of my markers? Hold on. Okay, so I'm going to use my light shaded spruce. I think that's what I used for the leaves before. So I'm just going to fill in the leaves here. But anyway, my shoulder is fine. You know, I recently had shoulder surgery. My shoulder is great, but my neck has given me problems again. And it's gotten to where not only do I get the pain a lot, but my arm goes numb, and that's just not fun. So, getting another cortisone shot. And you know, to be honest, it wasn't bad at all. I had always heard cortisone shots were very painful, but this one wasn't bad. And they said sometimes it has to do with where you're getting it. And I get mine, and they do it between a couple of your vertebrae or something like that. So it really wasn't bad. And they give you the stuff that you're not really knocked out, but you don't remember anything, so it's like you're knocked out. So I don't even remember it. I just remember afterwards I was pleasantly surprised that it wasn't painful like I had expected it to be. Okay, so we've got the inside of our card done now, and we can go ahead and stamp. Oh, you know what? I should have stamped my raindrops ahead of time, but that's okay. Okay, I have to show you guys something funny. Does anybody see anything weird going on with my raindrops on this card? Not all of them, just some of them. Yeah, the first set of them I stamped upside down, so my raindrops are falling up. So yeah, watch for that. Raindrops fall down, just so you know. Okay, we're going to take the Azure Afternoon, and I'm really just going to stamp the right direction, first of all, and I'm just going to kind of stamp some random raindrops all over. Not all over, but you know. There we go. Got a little bit of ink up there, but that's okay. I could come back later with my ink eraser, my sand eraser if I wanted to get that off though, so I might do that later. Okay, I'm just cleaning off my stamp. Not very well, but I'm cleaning off my stamp. Okay. And then I'm going to put this away before I do some damage with it. And we're just going to go ahead and glue our grass onto our paper. Now I should have glued it down before, I should have glued it on here before I laid everything down so that I could do a better job of cutting it, you know, trimming it. But that's okay. We'll survive. We're survivors, folks. So I'm just going to trim this down just a little bit. And hopefully it's not a little bit too short by doing it this way. And I'm just going to put a little bit of glue right here on the edges. Oh, somebody found her ball. Oh, Jackson found her ball. He stepped on it. Okay. So I'm just putting my glue down along the edge here, very lightly. It looks like a lot on the camera, I know. It really is not. You don't want your glue to squish out the edges. It just makes a huge mess. You can clean it up pretty easily with an adhesive eraser, but if you can avoid it, that's always nice. Okay, so, and this card's going to be kind of the mirror image of the sample one, because on my sample one, my hill is over here, or on this side, which is not a big deal. I'm going to put a little bit of glue right here under this corner though. Let it become tacky. Okay. Now, I'll set this aside. We're going to do a little bit of coloring now. So we got our clouds. Let me show you a little trick about doing the clouds. So here I have my dark balmy blue. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to, you know, very lightly go around the edges here of the cloud. Okay, so I just did around the edges. Well, actually, I want to get these little spots right here too. Okay, now I'm going to take my color lifter and I'm just going to start kind of circling over this balmy blue line. Let me tell you something that I figured out. You know, I've been doing this for a while now where I like to use my color lifter. But something I just realized this weekend when I was working on these cards is I would sit here and scribble and scribble and scribble, waiting for that color to kind of diffuse a little bit. And I realized that actually it takes just a little bit for it to set into your, soak into your paper. So if you just color over it, you know, you still want to do well. And then go on to the next section, it starts to lighten up more than you thought it would, because it's still diffusing the color after you leave. So I'm still trying to get a good amount of this, whatever the solution is that's in these, over my ink. That squeaking is really bad tonight, isn't it? But I'm just doing kind of circles over it. And see, look at the difference between this one at the top and this one that I haven't done yet. You can see how going over that just clears out the color enough that you've got that little blue tint around the edges, but that's it. So I'm doing the same over these little sections. Pull out a little bit of that color. Oh, there we go. I could do a musical interlude, Marcy. Okay. Now I'm going to hurry and do these other clouds too, because, you know, you don't want to watch, if watching me color isn't boring enough, watching me color with invisible ink can't be that much more exciting. Goodness gracious, that's loud. Go over this one more in there. Oh, that squeaking is awful. And it doesn't really seem to be diffusing a whole lot on that one. Wonder if I'm running out of ink. Oh, this does feel pretty dry. Well, that's disappointing. I wonder if this one is any better. Let's see. Oh, this one definitely looks like it's wetter. Look how much faster that's pulling up that ink. But it's also pulling a little bit of that blue out into the cloud as well. Get this area down here on this one, where my last pen kind of decided to give up the ghost. That's so much better. Okay. This last one, sorry about all the shaking. See now this, well, it's not dry, it's still pretty wet. By the way, if you did not know this, you might already know this, but just in case someone doesn't, pens like these, especially when they have two ends, you know, two ink tips, are best if they are stored laying down flat. That way the ink doesn't kind of run away from one tip and totally overload the other tip, because both are problems. If you've got too much ink coming out all at once, if it's too wet, it's hard to control. And of course, if you have no ink, it's hard to color. Goodness, my pens are just not good for this world right now. I swear it didn't take me this long to do these when I did my samples. Okay. With my pens not working super well, it kind of defeated the purpose of being able to show you how when you color, or, you know, uncolor it, I guess you could say, and then move away from it, it kind of does its own dissolution of the color on its own. Okay, so we've got the clouds, then they're just slightly blue, which is exactly what I was shooting for. Let's color our bunny. So I've got light flirty flamingo. We're just going to do a little tiny bit of pink in his ears. And we're going to get his little nose pink. I'm going to make his, I'm going to wait to do his jacket because it's such a dark color. But to do his, oops, there's the berry burst. I want to do his furs. I wanted to try something. As you can see, for this one, I used a combination. I used light and dark gray granite. And then I used my dark crumb cake and just a little bit on the edges, blended it in. But what I want to try this time, that's a black. I want to try just doing a little bit of gray and sort of doing what I did with the clouds. So he's still sort of white with some gray, hint of gray. And let's just see how that works for us. Get his little whisker spots there. And his little hands. Okay. Now let's see if my pens want to work. I forget which one was the wet one and which one was the dry one. Okay. They're both feeling pretty dry right now after doing those clouds. Let's see what we can do here. I just tried just getting it a little bit wet, but that's tearing apart my paper. So I may have to get a new pen and come back to finish this part of the card. But basically the idea was I wanted to do with his body the same thing I did with the clouds. But I think my pens are just too dead. They're ready to be replaced, I think. When I tore up my paper a little bit there. Okay, I'll just have to come back to him and finish him later. But you guys get the idea. So then for the little puddle that he is in, what I did is I took the, this is the light azure afternoon, just kind of going around the edge. Again, I was going to do the same thing where I just go around the edge, pull in a little color. I also wanted to add a little bit of the balmy blue, just to add kind of a variation of color in there. And then again, I would have just scribbled all over it. I keep going back to these pens thinking, maybe they're going to change their minds and work. They're not. Okay, and then I'm going to take my light berry burst and my dark berry burst. I'm just going to go around the edges here a little bit. And then I'm going to take my light. And circular motions kind of tend to pull the color in a little bit better. And if you can kind of try to get it so that it's lighter in the center than it is around the edges, then it kind of gives the impression of a little belly, a little tummy. And I just want to, again, go around like this because I'm trying to make sure that everything blends in well. Okay. We're going to let that soak in and deal with it later. And now we're going to cut everything with our die cut machine. And the main reason that I saved this to show you is because I want to show you something that I did with that little puddle. So hang on just a sec. Got my mini trimmer, which, by the way, if you decide to join my team in June during our special, You can choose the trimmer, either of the trimmers, as part of your kit if you choose. Okay, so first I'm taking my Post-it tape to tape the dies in place. And the first one is the bunny. Now what you're gonna notice is that the die only cuts out the bunny. It does not cut out the puddle. And I don't know why, that bothers me. It hurts my little heart. So I think I have this lined up where it needs to be. Oops. I don't want it going over my clouds there. Okay. And then I've also got the cloud die. This is what I was talking about where I said it's one die, but it cuts the clouds out separately. Line her up. Okay. And now I'm just going to feed it through. Sorry about more jiggling. We're just having a very wiggly, jiggly night. Hey, Robin, welcome. Yes, Marcy, I'll for our farm, I'll perform, Lucy and I can perform musical numbers to keep the guests entertained. I used to sing at weddings. Did you guys know that? Have I ever told you that? I used to sing at weddings and church and all sorts of fun stuff. Okay, I lost a cloud, so I'm gonna have to find it. I'm just really having issues tonight, aren't I? Gosh darn it. Okay, rule of thumb, put the dies away before you lose them because Heather loses stuff really easily. And I'm gonna see if I closed up my cloud in my cutting. It was still on one of my cutting mats. So fortunately, it was easy to find. Okay, so I still wanted this puddle because I want him to be playing in the puddles, right? So what I did is I just fussy cut the puddle. And I did cut it a little bit close to the actual stamped image. I don't normally cut it quite so close. I'm not sure why I chose to this time, but I did. Remember, turn your paper, not your scissors. And it does take some getting used to that movement because just your natural tendency, you want to move your scissors. Okay, that was kind of a weird little jaggedy edge. I'm going to fix that really quick. Okay, now we've got our puddle. And now I think we're ready to put everything together on our card. And we're just going to build a little scene here. And you can get all fun and creative by, putting your flowers behind the grass so they look like they're coming up. I didn't this time. It's funny, I left room when I did my sample one. I left a little room where I didn't glue it too close to the edges so that I could do that. And then just decided I liked it better this way. So, Okay, do the other one. Now on one side, what I did was I only did half the flowers because both sets of flowers just kind of felt like a little much. Again, it would have been good if I'd done this before I glued everything down, but that's okay. There. And you could save this to do on another card if you wanted. Some people are really good about that. Okay. Now we've got our little bunny. We'll wait to place the clouds because then that'll depend on the placement of our bunny. And I figured he's going to be here, so I want the puddle to be right about here. So right there. And I'm just gluing this down with my liquid glue. again, let's line it up just to be certain. I want it to be right about there. So I glued down my little puddle, and then I took my mini glue dots. Oops, got stuff falling out everywhere. I find that it's easier for me to use my mini glue dots when I use my Take Your Pick tool. Best tool ever. Because they're just so tiny that my fingers get in the way. Now I could use the bigger ones on the other part of his body, but here's what I found. We have various different foam adhesive products, and they all seem to have different, like different thicknesses. And so I recommend that whatever you start with on a particular piece, use it throughout, because then it's all the same height. Okay, now I'm just gonna take off all my, woo! Now I'm getting crazy. Okay, gosh, tonight is just out of control for me. Oh, that's a good question. Marcy wants to know if anybody's ordered the new attachments yet for their Take Your Pick tool. I have not, and I desperately want to, and then I forget about them when I go and place orders. But I'll show you guys in just a minute here the additional tools, so if you haven't seen it. Now I'm just going to place it back right about where it was when it was connected to the puddle. See? So now there's a little bit of 3D dimension to it. And you can't really tell. I mean, I guess if you look at it this way, you can tell that I cut it apart. But for the most part, looking at it front on, it fits perfect. So let's go ahead and do our clouds now. And two of the clouds, I went ahead and I just glued them down, which I would love to do with this one too. Oh, I might have a little glue jam going on. And when this happens, just stab it. Just so you know, that same philosophy does not work well with interpersonal communications. You don't just stab someone because they're not playing nice. Okay, so now I'm just gonna maybe put my cloud right about there. Oh, I guess I should put it over some raindrops though, right? There we go. And then let's see, we've got this one. We're gonna just put some glue on this one. And then I bet you can guess what I'm doing with that third one. That third one is getting a dimensional. Yeah, the new accessory tools for your Take Your Pick tool are really awesome. I mean, as it is, the Take Your Pick tool by itself comes with a palette knife. It comes with the little pokey end. Where is mine? It comes with the putty end for picking up jewels and gems and such. And then we already have an accessory that's like a roller brush that you can use to get the stuff out of dies. And then the new tool, see, what do you guys think? So cute. And it will be even cuter when I get a new pen to fix that. But the new tool also comes with like an X-Acto knife blade. I'll have to look. We'll look together. But anyway, there's card number 1. Come on, little cards. Okay, card number 1. What did you guys think of that one? Put away some of my toys here before we move on to the next one. I've got so many stamps that we're using this week that it kind of makes sense to put stuff back and pull out the old stuff. It's just an organizational nightmare tonight. Oh, good, Teresa. I'm glad you like that. Okay, so the Take Your Pick tool accessories. Let's find it here, because this really is worth showing you guys, because it is very cool. Okay, so when you get your Take Your Pick tool now, it comes with, there's a putty end and a putty refill. You get, right here it's showing a putty blade, but you pull that out and the other end of it is the pokey tool. And then it also comes with stylus ends where the balls are two different size. You can buy more putty tips if you need them. The new accessory, see there's the roller brush I was talking about. The new accessory toolkit comes with the X-Acto blade. It comes with I think this is a pinking blade. Let's see what it says here. Number 9. It is a hobby blade, a pick tip. So a pick tip, is that another pokey edge? And then a rotary perforating blade, so like a pinking tool. So I definitely have to get that. And it is, by the way, on page 145 of the catalog, and it's $21 for those pieces. The Take Your Pick tool itself is $11. Okay, that, like I said, you guys, is the most time-consuming card. We're going to move on. That's a great idea. Susan said to give these cards for spring showers we've been having. So thinking of showers, it would be cute for like a baby shower or a wedding shower. Okay, we're going to save my favorite card for last tonight. I'll give you a tip, though. It has a princess theme. Okay, so this card is using the Beautiful Balloons bundle. And you've got all different sizes of balloons. You've got a string, you've got tassels, little stars, some fun little sentiments, some confetti, the streamers, and then the dies. You've also got this tag. This balloon right here, there isn't a stamp that goes with it, but it makes great shaker cards. And then this die here, I thought it was just, to give a little texture on your paper or whatever. Oh no, I just found out this weekend, it actually makes fringe. It is the coolest thing. You run, your paper, especially if you use like it's fun with like a designer series paper, and you run it through your cutting and embossing machine with this die, and then when it comes out, all the ends are like little, I don't know what you call it, the little fringes on fringe. It's very cool. Okay, so this card that we're making, look at this, isn't that just fun? And what I really like about this is it's not really girly or masculine, and it's so you could give it to either. Sometimes some people don't care if their card's girly or not. Some people do. So I do like to create cards that are a little more gender neutral from time to time. So let's get started on our card. We'll do our envelope. This is another one where I'm just using a strip of designer series paper on the flap. Joyce, I can see why you overlooked that in the catalog, because it's small. I mean, the picture of it is really small. And by the time you get to that section of the catalog, you're so overwhelmed by all the new colors and the new stamps and the new papers and all that, that you kind of miss any more new stuff, especially if it's small. Oh, Nancy says she's gotten hers, but she's eager to start using them. So it sounds like you haven't used them yet, Nancy. Am I understanding that correctly? Okay, I talked a little much, and this got tacky a little bit faster than I would have liked. Well, it probably didn't get tacky any faster than it normally does. I just wasn't moving as fast as I normally do. Okay, that was my way of saying I was being a blabbermouth slowboat. Okay, so I've got that on there. It's not super straight. That bothers me. You know how that kind of thing bothers me. I got a little bit of glue on here, so I'm just going to take my adhesive eraser and get that off. This is not a Stampin' Up! Product, but you can get it for a couple bucks on Amazon. They're not too expensive. Okay. And I'm shedding. I'd like to say it's shedding season, but no, I shed year round. I'm like a golden retriever. Okay. Okay, so there's our envelope. I love those little multicolored bubbles. Okay, now, standard card base, it's a half of a sheet, 8.5 by 5.5, scored in the middle at 4 1/4. Somebody asked last week, and I think it's good to bring this up again in case you weren't on last week. We carry 2 types of basic white cardstock. We've got our regular, and then we have one called thick basic white cardstock, and a lot of people use that for their card bases. It is a little heavier duty. It's more the weight of our colored cardstocks, and some people like that, or they prefer that for a card base. So if you find that using your basic white is too flimsy for a card base, you can get that thick white. Okay, so this card is very, very quick and easy. What we're going to do is, I had dies, hang on. Oh no, silly me, I was looking for a circle, but I used the balloon. What is wrong with me? Okay, so for the inside, let's do the inside of the card first. You know I like to decorate the inside. So what we're gonna do is I have a strip of the Designer Series paper and a strip of Misty Moonlight. And the color tonight is brought to you by Jackson. I showed him the paper and I said, of the colors that you see here, which one should I use as my accent color? So he picked Misty Moonlight. And that was not a poor choice at all. It's a beautiful color. It was an in color a couple years ago, and everybody was really sad when it got discontinued. Though we knew it would be, that's how it works with the in colors, but everybody was really sad because we really liked that color. And so when they did the color refresh this year, they brought it back. There we go. And we're just going to glue this to the inside of our card. Sometimes I like to put my sentiment on the inside like we did with the last card. On this one, we're going to put it on the outside. So all I'm doing is I'm just going to glue this down right here, right up against my crease, which is going to make it just a tad bit too long because, you know, that crease takes up some space, right? So I just put it in there, I put it right up against the crease, and then I trim off the edge. You can see it's just a little tiny bit of an edge. There. Now, I'm going to take this little square. This square here, I guess it's more of a rectangle, is 3.5 inches by 4 1/4. So 3.5 inches this way, 4 1/4 that way. If you are using a directional paper, meaning the pictures on it have a specific direction they need to go, then make sure that you're paying attention to that when you cut it, so that your images end up pointing the right direction. Ask me how I know that problem. Okay, so now I'm going to put this on here. I'm going to put it, it's not, you know, really up to the top. Oh, poop, poop. Look at me and my vulgar language. Okay, Misty Moonlight. It's just about 1/8 of an inch bigger than my Designer Series paper. Okay, wait a minute. Okay, let's see. This really should only be 4 1/8 because I want the mat around all 4 sides of my paper. gosh, I was so proud of myself because I had everything done so early this week. You know, I'm usually up Tuesday night coming up with cards for this. And I had everything done so early. And tonight is just falling apart everywhere. Okay, now let's go ahead and glue this down to our card. My adhesive is going to run out here soon. It'll probably happen tonight because that's just the way tonight seems to be working. Okay, so now I'm going to line this up here on my card. Like I said, toward the top-ish, but not necessarily all the way up. And line this up on my card. There we go. Now the next step, what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay this right here. Line it up kind of where I think it's going to be good. And then I'm going to take my big balloon and we're going to tape it down. So I think I want, if this is lined up here, I'm going to want my balloon to be right about here. So now I'm just going to do that. Hold that. And I've got my little tiny baby embossing machine again. More wiggling and jiggling. Oh, that's right, Joyce. The thick basic white that I was talking about is really good when you're using your Stampin' Blends too, because when you use them, they do soak through the back of the paper, and they don't do that quite as much with the thicker paper. Now, most of the time, I just use mine in a way that you don't see the back of the paper anyway, so it doesn't matter. But sometimes people do, like a card like this, if it has a white card base, I probably wouldn't use my markers on the inside of the card because they would show on the back of the card. Okay, so now we're going to take the balloon off. Carefully remove the tape. Now I have found that my Post-it tape seems to leave a bit of a tape residue. I'm going to save this balloon for something else, but it does leave a little bit of a residue on my paper. So I'm just going to take my adhesive eraser to get that off. There's some right there. And it's such a fine, small residue, it comes right off really easily. I mean, with your adhesive eraser, stuff usually comes off really easily anyway, but even more so when it's just such a fine little residue like this. Get it off the balloon since I'm right here. I'm not using this balloon tonight, but I'm going to save this to use for something else. No sense letting it go to waste, right? Okay. So now we have a balloon cut out of the center that's going to be like our little window, I guess you could say, on our card front. So let's stamp it before we glue it down. And I'm going to stamp it with the Misty Moonlight. And the sentiment I'm using says, I think it's time for a celebration. And you know, the nice thing about this too is it doesn't necessarily have to be a birthday card. You know, there's graduations going on right now. There's always something to celebrate, right? Okay, then I'm going to take, I've got some of our little, this is 1/8 inch ribbon. It matches all of our in colors from last year. I'm going to tie, I want to tie a double bow. Oh no, Lucy brought a rock in again. And some of you might remember she brings in her rocks and then she fights with them on the couch. So we'll soon have that to listen to. Right now she's already started the fight. She's just not growling at it and barking at it yet. Now this ribbon, one thing I've found is it seems to come untied really easily. So I will double knot it when I make this bow. just because with bows, if it doesn't stay tight, then your bow gets funny. And I do it super duper tight because I don't want a big lump in the middle of my bow. Okay, and now I just pull the little things apart. I've heard it called a bow jig, but I've heard all sorts of other things, just bow maker, whatever. There's all sorts of them that you can buy on the market out there. I apologize, I don't even remember the name of the people I bought mine from. It was another demonstrator who used one and said, hey, I have a friend who makes these if you're interested. I typically, if I'm just doing a regular bow, I just do it by hand. But if I love to do double and triple bows, and those are really easy to do when you have a bow maker. Okay, so now we'll wait to put that on, I guess, until we have this down already. And for this, what I'm going to use, let me show you. I have some of our adhesive foam strips. This is great if you're making like a shaker card because it bends and shapes really easily. But the reason I'm using it is because this space here is so narrow. I suppose a mini dimensional would have worked, but I just chose to do this instead. These ones are actually ones that I had left over from a paper pumpkin kit, but they're the same. They're shorter, but they're the same product as when you buy them. When you buy them, you get, I think they're like 11 inches long or something. But you just put it where you want it, and then you trim it down. And then when you have excess that you don't use, you just stick it back on the package, and it saves for the next time. So, oops, that's a little close to the edge there. There we go. Well, what are you thinking? There we go. Now I am going to want to put some up here kind of by closer to the balloon because I don't want it to sag, but we'll do that in a minute. And again, I would use normal dimensionals in those other areas, but remember I talked earlier about how our different foam adhesives have different widths or thicknesses, so I want to be consistent in what I'm using, so I'm going to make sure to just use the same thing everywhere. Make kind of like a little X here. Put a little bit right there. Okay, now pull all that off. I know that was kind of time consuming. You like that, the camera going right down into my garbage can? Okay, pull off all these little backs. I really do like these foam adhesive strips. They're so useful. I mostly use them when I make shaker cards. As I said, they're great for shaker cards because they're so flexible, and you can shape them around circles, balloons, hearts, whatever. And they make making shaker cards so darn simple. Okay, we get our last couple of bits off here. And then we're just going to set this down, line it up. Okay, now I'm going to take a glue dot and I'm going to put it right on the back of the knot of your bow. Now, a trick that I saw this last weekend, the gal actually folded her strip of paper in half like that to fold the glue dot in half so you didn't end up with a big piece of glue dot sticking out, showing behind your bow. I just go ahead and I just fold it together after I've got it on there. So you do what works for you, but that is another option. I like to make sure my bow is nice and fluffy. And I'm going to put it right here just below the bottom of the balloon. Oops. There we go. And then we'll just put a few little gems on here. They're the Tinsel Gems 4-pack. And they are, Lemon Lolly. I think this is supposed to be our Moody Mauve, and then the Azure Blue, and then maybe Evening Evergreen. Anyway, so I'm going to put 3 dots on here. I'm going to put 1 of the Lemon Lolly. I'm going to put 1 of the Azure Afternoon, and 1 of the Moody Mauve. Ta-da! Easy peasy card. There's our inside. And there you go. I really love this one. It's fun, it's cute, and it was super simple to make. You know, I did a shaker card, Joyce. I've done them a couple times, but if you would like to see another one, maybe I can do one next week. Which reminds me, 2 of the cards I'm going to make next week, I'm actually going to copy from other demonstrators who sent me cards that they had made, and I thought they were so cute that I'm going to, you know, put my own spin on them, but I'm going to show you what they did, and of course I'll give them credit for designing the card, but I thought that would be kind of fun to let you see what some other demonstrators are doing too. Okay, final card. You guys, this one's quick, this one's easy. This one is my absolute favorite. I love it. Are you ready? Okay, we're going to use the Timeless Tiles background stamp. We're going to use the Something Fancy dies and the Friendship Royalty stamp set. As soon as I saw the stamp set, I knew I had to have it. I just love it. So let's start to play. So here's our card. I stamped the envelope this time. And then look at that pretty girl. I shouldn't say that in this day and age. It could be a girl or a guy. And there's the inside. And I used some Wink of Stella. I don't know how well you can see it. See if you can see that sparkle. Not very well on the camera, I guess. Oh, you can see it a little bit. Little Wink of Stella for our little magical whatever we're doing. So let's get started on this card. We'll do our envelope first. Take your piece of scrap paper and you just put it under the flap like that. And for this, I need the little, I don't even know what you want to call that. It's, you know, the little sparkles that come out when you wave your magic wand. Oh, you know what? There's something we forgot to do on the last card. Hold on. Hold on. Okay, I've got my Lemon Lime Twist and my Berry Burst, and we need a couple of balloons. Now what I did is I started with the lightest color, which would be the Lemon Lolly. Clean off my stamp. Then I'm going to stamp with the Berry Burst, and I'm going over the Lemon Lolly. I'm sorry, it's not Lemon Lolly, it's Lemon Lime Twist. And when it dries, you can actually see through the Berry Burst one a little bit to see the one behind it, which I thought was cool because with balloons, that would be the case, right? And then I took my Misty Moonlight to do the strings at the bottom of the balloons. And the nice thing about these photopolymer stamps is you can line them right up so that your string is in the right spot. There we go. Isn't that cute? Okay. Let's get back to the princess card though. So, for the princess card, I'm using Smoky Slate and Blackberry Bliss. And what we're going to do is we're going to start like this. And we're going to do the little swirls, just random patterns around our envelope. There we go. Then, hold on. We'll leave the colors out because we're going to do this on the inside of our card as well. Actually, we might as well stamp it all at the same time, right? Do all of our stamping at once. So for the inside of the card, I have a piece here that is 4 by 5 1/4. And we're going to stamp some of these little swirls like this. And then we're going to take the Blackberry Bliss and we're going to stamp, I've got the star here, and then there's also one that's, Lucy, take that outside, please. Oh, she's gonna fight with it on the couch. Okay, so we're gonna take our star, and on the envelope, I just kind of filled in some empty spaces with the star. Like that. Maybe just a tiny, tiny little tip of one right there. Why did I clean? I don't know why I just cleaned that off, because I need to stamp one right here too. Just like that. And then I'm going to take, this is, it looks like just a couple of lines, and I couldn't figure out what they were. It's these little lines right here, they're this is the, what do you call it, the stem, the handle, the whatever, on the magic wand. Good girl, Lucy. She took the rock back outside. Now she's laying with her body inside the house and her head out the door. Okay, one thing I should have done before I stamped this, and I didn't, is I'm taking my Wink of Stella and I'm just kind of going over the little fairy magic dust stuff that you get. There you go, and I'm going to do it on my envelope as well, because who wouldn't love a sparkly envelope? Now, I'm going to give just a little reminder here because I know this got cut off at the beginning of my video because of technical difficulties. But don't forget about the amazing special we have right now for signing up as a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. It's $99. You get $155 worth of products of your choice. And then you also get you get a $23 paper pumpkin kit, you get some catalogs, you get all that good stuff, and it's free shipping on the kit. So thanks, Joyce. She liked the touch of adding the balloons on the inside of the last card. Okay, so now this piece right here, we're going to stamp with that background stamp. Now, some of you are familiar with the Stamparatus that we just recently discontinued. So I'm going to show you how you can do your big stamps without the Stamparatus. I was very sad to lose that because it really did make it easy to do these big background stamps. But I'm going to ink up my stamp. With big stamps like this, it's easier to lay the stamp upside down and then put the ink on this way versus have the ink pad down and doing it the other way. It's kind of difficult. So I'm inking it up really, really nice and good. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to line this up because you want to make sure that it's straight with this particular pattern. Some of them, it doesn't matter. This one, my first one that I did was not straight and it looks really, really wonky. Okay, so then you take a piece of just scrap paper that covers the whole thing. And then I take, this is an air hockey paddle, and I just go over it like this. And the reason for this is this way I'm getting even pressure everywhere when I rub that stamp into the paper so that it gets inked up really well. If you don't do even pressure everywhere, you pull your paper off and sometimes you have areas that just hardly have any ink. And I mean, it creates a cool vintage look if that's what you're looking for. But if it's not what you're looking for, it's disappointing. So I've done that. So now I lift my paper up. And then I put this on its side. You want to be careful because you don't necessarily want it sliding down in case there's still wet ink on there. So I typically will tip it up. It sticks a little bit, and I'll take my take your pick tool behind it and go boop, and just kick it right off. And then the best way to clean your big stamps like this is take your Simply Chamois and just go like this. And now it's ready for the next time I use it. Okay, so now we have one more little bit of, well, I lied, 2 more little bits of stamping to do. And for this, we're going to use our Blackberry Bliss again. This is another color that I just love. It's so rich and dark. So the images we're using are this little crown, and then the sentiment. Let me find the right sentiment, though. And it says, I love this. I love this, love this, love this. Want to know how I feel about it? I love it. It says, you were born to be fabulous, not perfect. I love that. Okay, so now I just have a strip here. It's like 6 inches by 1 1/4, I think. No, I guess it's 1. 6 inches by 1. And right about the center of it, if it's not perfectly centered, that's okay. I'm going to stamp my sentiment. We're going to do something more with it in a little bit, but for now, I'm just doing that so we get all of our stamping done. And then we have here our crown, and I just cut this out with the Something Special dies. I think that's what it was called. And line her up. There we go. Just cleaning off my stamp really quick. Now, are you ready to do some assembly? Okay, first what we're going to do is we've got our card base. Our card, oh, I'm missing the piece for my inside of my card, so we'll get that in a minute. Oh no, it's right up here. It's 8.5 by 5.5, scored in the middle at 4 1/4, standard card base. I just realized I didn't do any fun folds tonight. Okay, so let's go ahead and glue the inside in. One thing that's nice about getting all the stamping done is then when you go to assemble, it all comes together so quick and easy. You're like, oh, that was really nice. Okay, so now we're going to take a piece of gray granite. Gosh, I couldn't remember what it was called. And we've got our gray granite ink. Or what is wrong with me? Paper. And we're just going to put it right here like this. Looks like my piece is a little smaller than I normally do, but that's okay. So now we're just going to glue these two pieces together, and then we're going to put them on the card. Okay. just gonna put it down right here. Okay, it does look like it's a little crooked though. That is one hard thing though about using patterns like this. There's lines, and yeah, it's really obvious if you're crooked. There we go. Because that's flipped up a little bit just from doing that, I'm going to take some of my liquid glue and just put it right under the edge there. It'll glue it right back down, and then no one will ever need to know what just happened here. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take all our little pieces. And the first thing we're going to work on is our crown. And I have some of our silver trim. When you buy this, you get a pack of gold and a pack of silver. If you want something a little thicker, like the 1/8, you know, the 1/8 inch ribbon I used on the balloon card, you can buy that right now in our online only. We have an online only section of products on my website. And you can get the thicker ribbon in silver and gold. It's a 2-pack there. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a little bit of adhesive here on the back. And the reason I do this is because we're going to put some ribbon on here, and or the twine trim, and I want it to stay in place when I do that. So I start, and I just kind of start doing little swirlies, little circles, and just kind of go where the trim wants to go. And I do guide it to a certain degree, of course, but if you try to go against where it wants to go, it sometimes doesn't lay right. So to a certain degree, you do have to let it be the boss. And I want to have 3 little loopies. Okay, now that adhesive holds it down, but just to be sure, what I do is I take a piece of my Terran tape and I lay it across the back, just like that, which I guess you don't have to do because of the next step, but there you have it. Because when I say the next step, what I'm talking about is I am going to take a piece of my, like a foam adhesive sheet, and put it on there. And that'll hold down your twine as well. There we go. And then we'll go ahead and we'll put it on the card. Put it about 2/3 of the way up. Make sure you've got it where you want it, because those foam adhesive sheets are very unforgiving when it comes to trying to pick it up and move it somewhere else. So now I'm going to take this strip and I'm just going to put a little bit of adhesive right along the middle there. It's all lined up. And what we're going to do, oh, and again, I shouldn't have laid this down yet, but that's okay. Oh yeah, I did, because I wanted to wait. We're going to put it here at an angle. So just kind of right along the center there. Figure out where you want it. So get this going the right way and figure out how much of an angle you like, that kind of thing. Just like that. Oops, can't do that because it didn't go. There we go. Well, there we go. Okay, because now what I'm going to do is I am going to take my little snips and I'm just trimming the edge. It's a little bit long. I'm going to put a little bit more glue down here because when the edge sticks up like that, it's easy for it to get caught on things, and I don't want that to happen. So I want the edge to be glued down as much as possible. Hold it down for just a moment, let it get tacky. Got some glue sticking out the edge there, and that's okay. And what I want to do though is see what looks dirty on there? That's because I had glue on my fingers. So when I'm all done, I can go back and just erase that glue right off with my adhesive eraser. As you can see, I use mine a lot. They really come in handy. There we go. Now we're almost done, but not quite. Sorry we're going so late tonight, guys. There. Now, the final touch on this is we have our rhinestone basic jewels. And what I did is I took my dark Blackberry Bliss Stampin' Blend marker, and I took my black marker, and what I did is first I colored these with the Blackberry Bliss, let it dry a little bit, then I went over them again with the black and let it dry a little bit, and then I went back over it with the Blackberry Bliss again, and that way it made it so that they were nice and dark like the paper. Without doing that, they were very pink, and I wanted them to be darker. So I'm going to take my Take Your Pick tool. I did these ones ahead of time because, like I said, you want to allow some time for them to dry in between colors. It doesn't take a long time, but I didn't want you to have to wait. So I did the big ones with the black and the Blackberry Bliss. And I'm just putting them over the big gems in the crown. And then we have the little teeny tiny ones. And I left these ones silver or clear or whatever you want to call that color of rhinestone, rhinestone-y color. And I'm putting them on all the little ones. And then you say, but Heather, what about that lonely little teardrop shaped one right there in the middle? You're just going to leave it alone and it's going to be sad because it's not sparkly like all of its friends? Oh, no, I would never do that. I would never let someone be not sparkly when all their friends were sparkly, right? So get all these guys on. There's a few of them, but you know what? You get a lot of these in a pack of rhinestones. So make everything sparkly in your life. Okay. Oh, one more. It's a lot of rhinestones. Look at that. Isn't that looking beautiful? Yes, I love my bling. Okay, so then I took my Wink of Stella again. And I'm just coloring in very carefully because that brush tip is a little bit big for such a small little space. But I colored in the one right there, that lonely little one, so it's sparkly too. I think you can see it okay. Yeah, you can kind of see it on the camera, but you can really see it on the actual card itself. And so it's nice and sparkly too. And because it's a different shape, it's okay that it looks a little different than the rest. It's okay to be different. So there we go. All 3 cards for you. So let's go ahead and clean up the mess a little bit. We'll take a peek at everything we've made tonight. I hope you guys enjoyed what I had for you. I had so much fun making them. I'm loving all the new products. Oh, I forgot the starter kit. I was going to show you this at the beginning, and my paper was curling a little bit, so I put it under my mat and I forgot about it. So the starter kit, $155 worth of products for 99 bucks. And you actually get more than 155 because that's just the amount of products that you get to choose. You pick $155 worth of anything, plus you get the paper pumpkin kit, plus you get the catalogs and stuff, you get free shipping, all that good stuff. Okay, So if you liked the cards and had fun tonight, I love it when you give me likes and hearts and all that good stuff. Strokes my ego. But it also tells the Facebook and YouTube people that you like me. And when they think you like me, they think other people might like me too. And so they just start putting my stuff out there a little bit more. And that helps me a lot. Oh, thank you guys. Okay, so here's our cards. We've got our princess card, my favorite. We've got our neat little celebration card. And then, of course, we've got our playing in the rain. Whoop. There we go. So if you would like to take a look at some of those online exclusives that I was talking about earlier, or find out a little more information about our starter kit, or purchase any of the supplies that I made or that I used for what I made tonight, you can do that on my website at heathersides.stampinup.net. If you've never shopped from me before, I would love to earn your business. If you place an order, it says June here, but if you want to place an order tonight, you can still use this code. But if your order is under $150, it would help me a lot if you could use this code. It helps me to continue to provide these videos for free and the prizes and all that. If your order is over $150, though, don't use the code because you'll have some free products coming to you, and I want to make sure that you're the one who gets them. If you have questions, concerns, anything like that, you can send me an email at stamphappenings@gmail.com, or you can send me a private message here on Facebook. I love to hear from you guys. So I am looking forward to sharing with you next week because, like I said, I have a couple of guest stampers that don't even know they're going to be guest stampers who sent me cards, and I didn't show you the cards tonight because I want to show them to you next week when we make ours. We're going to have a couple of guest stampers, and I will make a shaker card as well. So that gives you an idea of what we've got coming next week. Hope you guys all have a wonderful, wonderful week. I'm going to spend the rest of the night with the birthday puppy, and I will see you guys later. Have a great week, everyone.